This is Gemara in Yevamos, Daf Sadi Gimel. All the learning should bring an incredible schoshedav yishalchaim in devar tamasiba bas apparel Rachel Shalom and Levizaba Oiv Deli Shem and Chayav Lehudis Bas Sima Malka, as well as learning Shvias Chos Rosh Shmuel Yosef and Yefred Shmuel Ben Tzilam Dosim Mechleson Chom Basviva. Sarah Bluma Bas Mendechem Shishub and Malka Shaviv Shechana Chavalea Bas Saradina B'Soich Sha'ar Chayli Yisrael. We're holding in the bottom of Sadi Beis and Medbeis. We're 4 lines in the bottom of the Amid. We concluded yesterday's daf with understanding the din of Rav Yanai, which is passing like Shmuel, that Kedushin is not a toiv sin on a Yevama. If a Yevama, if one's husband dies and she has no children, so she's awaiting Yibum from her husband's brother, the entire pretense of the entire Misachta, and instead of doing Yibum to her husband's brother, what does she do? She goes and accepts Kedushin from anyone else in the world. We learn Ein Kedushin Taifsin. The Kedushin does not take effect. Amar Lei Reish Lakish, says Reish Lakish 4 lines to the bottom. So Rabbi Yochanan just proved this din from a Mishnah. Says Reish Lakish, what are you talking about that Mishnah? You lav de kolscha gava rabba. If not for the fact that a great person praised you, meaning showed that your Mishnah was indeed a source, Hava Mina, you know what I would have thought? I would have told you, I would have thought that the Mishnah is the sheet of Rabbi Akiva. That the reason in the Mishnah the Kedusha did not work because that she does Rabbi Akiva, that's Chayve Lavin, but it does not necessarily prove that in a regular case of Yibum there would be no Kedushin due to the Yavam. V'i Rabbi Akiva, but explains the Gemara it can't be, because if it was Rabbi Akiva, Ki Amar Lo Lachash Echle Tzlich Yevamech, when he said to her after Yavam gives you Chalitza Litavzi Ba Kedushin, would it indeed work? Dashamina Leil Rabbi Akiva. Excuse me, Kedushin should work according to Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because I learned according to Rabbi Akiva, in the case in which one says, after someone gives you chalitza, I want to marry her, according to Rabbi Akiva, the Kedushin would work. So this Mishnah clearly cannot be Shitas Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Akiva holds, Adam makne davar shaloi bala oilam. Tetinan, as we learned in the Mishnah, we turn over to Sadi Gimel and Aleph, and we're going to get involved in a very lengthy discussion. Kamat the entire day. The discussion is going to center around these words of Adam makne davar shaloi bala oilam. Can you effect an acquisition? Can you make a kinyan on something that does not yet exist in the world? So first we prove the din of Rabbi Akiva that Tanam learned in the Mishnah on top of the Gimel and Aleph Kainam. If someone makes a neder Kainam Shani Oisel Abicha, that my handiwork should be to your mouth, Ein tzarich lahafer, he doesn't have to be mefer. Such a neder, and Rashi points out, this is a wife that tells her husband, that which I make, the earnings that I make, are forbidden to your mouth. So the Tanakama holds she does not have to annul that vow, because since she is mishubit, she's intrinsically tied to give her husband that which she makes. Therefore, the neder, the vow, does not take effect. But Rabbi Kiva Omer Yafer, and indeed takes effect. Why? Even though the basic amount she makes is mishubit to her husband, but Shemot Hadiv Olav Yoisir Min Arayuloi. For example, she has to give her husband $100 a week, a month, whatever it is. And let's say she goes and makes $1,000. The extra money is Ra'ui. So Shematadav Yoisir Min Arayuloi. Maybe she'll make more. On that more, the neder will be chal. So what do we see? We see Rabbi Kiva's of the opinion of Adam Makna Davar Shaloi Ba'Olam. But on this, says Gemara Itmar Allah, we learned to this on Rav Huna Bar Yeshua by mercy Kachu Yadai Lo Yisayim Yadayu is Nayim Ba'Olam. Says Rav Huna Bar Yeshua, this Mishnah is not a riot at all. Because then the reason why this Mishnah, the neder is chal, is not because Rabbi Kiva holds Adam Makna Davar Shaloi Ba'Olam, but rather because Rabbi Kiva is saying the case is that she says her hands are makneh. Her hands are a neder, and her hands are something ba'olam. And now we're seeing a very subtle difference between saying that which I make is in a neder, or saying my hands, which they will make will be beneder. The difference being whenever there's something in this world, something for the neder to take effect upon, then everyone will agree it will work, and therefore there is no raya from this Mishnah. But says the Gemara, Upliga, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. The Mishnah's argument Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Huna kirav, Rav Huna is like Rav, V'Rav kirav Yanei, V'Rav Yanei kirav Chia, V'Rav Chia kirevi, V'Revi kirav Meir, V'Rav Meir kirav Laz ben Yaakov, Laz ben Yaakov kirevi Akiva. What's this whole list of Tanaim Amoraim? What are they holding? So you were seemingly proving to me not. You were saying that there's no raya from this price. So why? Because the cases that she said are yadayim, her hands are kanoi. Says the Gemara, no. We have a whole laundry list of people. Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Rav Huna, Rav, Rebbe, Rameir, Rav Laz ben Yaakov, and ultimately Rabbi Akiva, that all hold Adam Makne Davar Shlei Ba'olam. I could, yes, effect an acquisition on something that is no longer, that is not as of yet in this world. And now for the rest of today, we're going to go through this whole list and bring down all the different cases in which show us that each of these mandamrim, each of these opinions, hold that you could, yes, affect an acquisition, you could, yes, transfer ownership on something that is not yet in this world. So let's begin with Rav Huna. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna, Mai, about 13 lines from the top. The first one in line is a Mai. What is the opinion of Rav Huna? And of course, each case that we're going to be quoting now is referenced elsewhere in Shas, and elsewhere in Shas is where it's referenced at length. Here, or maybe here is the root source. Either way, we're just going to touch upon what is the raya from each case, proving that you could, yes, affect an acquisition if it's not yet in the world. So Rav Huna Mai dit marilert. If someone sells his palm tree, the fruit of his palm tree to his friend, before the fruit is born, before the tree gives forth the fruit, you could retract and take it away from giving it to your friend. But once it comes to the world, you cannot be chayzer anymore. Once it comes to the world, cannot be chayzer. Now look at Rashi. Rashi points out, so here we see is that once it comes, it's considered sold. So we see your magnet, meaning I say I am giving you whatever this tree produces. So before the tree produces, before anything happens, I could retract. Once the fruit is on the tree, my words that were said before the fruit is on the tree takes effect, and those fruit are yours. We see clearly Adam Makne Davar Shaloi Ba'olam. For Rav Nachman Amar, Rav Nachman argues and he says, so he can still retract. V'amar Rav Nachman. So even though Rav Nachman in general argues on Rav Huna, but I'm Rav Nachman Dina, you know which case I agree with you, Rav Huna? But if the person in which I gave the fruit to grabbed it and ate it, like I said to him, then I can't claim for him. What are you doing? I retracted. Once he takes it, it is his. So that is opinion number one, shita number one of Rav Huna, who's holding I could clearly give something away before it's in the world from the case of the fruit of the date palm tree. Case number two is Rav Damar Rav. Where do we see Rav? The Amar Rav Huna Rav says Rav Huna, the name of Rav. Rav is the first one online, about 10 lines from the bottom. This field that I am going to buy, he didn't buy it yet. When I will purchase it, he tells his friend, when I purchase this field, it should be yours from now. Kana says Rav, it is indeed a kinyan, even though he did not purchase it yet. Clearly, Rav is of the opinion you could acquire and transfer ownership of something not yet in the world. Next are Rav Yanai ki Rav Chia. We have the opinions of Rav Yanai holding like Rav Chia for the following story. Rav Yanai avale arisa davimaisli kansa debeiri kamali shabata. Rav Yanai had a sharecropper would bring a basket of fruit each and every Friday for Shabbos. Hayoma naga lei. On one Friday, what happened? The sharecropper was delayed. He didn't come yet. V'lo asan, he didn't come. Shankal Esther mi beiri debesi. So Rav Yanai went, and what did he do? He took 10 fruit he took meiser, excuse me, not 10. Well, it could be 10, but the point is that it's a meiser from the fruit in his house. Alayu on the fruit that did not yet come yet. Also, like a made Rav Chia, then Rav Yana came to Rav Chia and to ask Rav Chia, was I allowed to do what I did? I took off Meiser, I pre-Meisered. I took off the fruit before the sharecropper gave me the fruit. Amar Le, and Rav Chia responded, Shaber, of this, what you did is wonderful. The Tanya, as we learned in our Braisa, Leman, Tilman, Eliyiras, Hashem Loikecha, that the pasuk says regarding to Ma'aseh that you should learn to fear Hashem your God kol hayamim all your days. And from here we learn out Elu Shabbos Yom Tovim when it says that Yomim, this refers to the Shabbos and Yom Tovim. Now the Gemara explains what exactly was Rav Chia learning from the pasuk. So what detail is he learning from the pasuk? If he's learning that you're able to take a meiser and eat it, says the Gemara, it's Mishrei Tilta D'Rabbanan. How could that be? What's the problem with taking off Meiser on Shabbos and Yantif? Two ways of learning the Gemara. Either the problem is Tiltal, that the fruit is Muksa right now, because it's not Metukan, it's not fixed, so it's a Din D'Rabbanan of Muksa. So you need a pasuk to undo a Din D'Rabbanan of Muksa. That's one way of learning the Gemara. The other way of learning the Gemara is the Isser, the forbidden to take off Chumas and Meiser on Shabbos, is an Isser D'Rabbanan, that it looks like Metakin Kli, it looks like you're fixing an item. And again, the same question, you need a pasuk to allow you to do something which is only Asar D'Rabbanan. At any rate, what do you see as we turn over to Sadi Gimel Amid Beis, he says, the Gemara, Elalav, you know what the pasuk is teaching me? It's teaching me that you're allowed to take off fruit on the fruit before it even comes. So what do we see? We see that you can be Magna Davar Shleiba, you could transfer acquisition, you could transfer ownership over these fruits before you even got the fruits. Amar Le, Rav Yana said to Rav Chia, but I, in a dream, saw the following words: Kana Ratzav, a splintered cane. My love, Achi Karmelei, is it not the dream not teaching me the following? Hine batachti. Behold, you relied upon the support of a rotzos of the splintered rod, meaning it seemingly Rav Yana asked, I did incorrect. When I saw in the dream a cane that was splintering, that seemingly was a message from Hashem, that I acted incorrectly, I'm like a splintered cane. And the Rav Chia said, Loi, no, that's not what your dream meant. Achi kamer lecha, kana rotzos lo yishbar, upishta kahal lo yichabdenu, will not break the reed nor extinguish the flax. And the pasuk ends, but rather what? He'll administer justice in truth. Le'emes yotzei mishpat, says the end of the pasuk in Yeshayahu. And therefore your dream is to show you that it was yes, good what which you did. So here we see in this story both Rav Yana and Rav Chia are of the opinion of Adam Makne Davar Shalbal Olam. So we had Rav, we had Rameir, we have Rav Yanai, we have Rav Chia, and who's next? Says the Gemara 5 lines down, Rabbi. The next opinion is Rabbi D'Tanya Lo Tasker Eved Elad. Says the pasuk, you should not deliver a slave to his master. Rabbi Omer, we learn off in this pasuk. The pasuk is referring to if you purchase an Eved on condition to free him. Dami, what's the case? Amram Nachbar gets to the cause of lay. He writes to the slave, when I purchase you, your body is acquired to you now, meaning when I free you, you are a free man already now. And therefore, what do we see? We see clearly that you're able to give over ownership, acquire makne davar shleiba olam, because right now he's still a slave, and I'm giving him over his ownership after I buy him as a free man, proving to me, says the Gemara, the Rebbe holds on the makne davar shleiba olam. Next is Rameir. The tonight we learned in the Mishnah 3 lines before the white lines. A Mishnah that we saw yesterday. If someone says to a woman, "You're married to me," after you get divorced, or after you convert, or after I convert. After you become a free woman, or after I become a free man. After your husband dies, or after your sister dies, after Yevavam gives you chalitza Einoi Mikudeshes, it doesn't work. But Rameir Oimer Mikudeshes. Why? Because Rameir holds you're able to be makna, you're able to affect the acquisition even now, before it even happens. Next is Rav Elazar ben Yaakov. The Tanya, the second why, yes, okay, Rav Elazar ben Yaakov. More than this says Rav Elazar ben Yaakov. Afilu im amar. Even if someone says, Peiros arugazu tulushim, these fruit from this row in the field, which are detached, Yitruma should be Yitruma al Peiros aruga mechubarim, on a different row of fruit which are still attached. Peiros aruga mechubarim, or the fruit on this row which is attached should be Truma al Peiros tulushin. When they grow a third. So they didn't grow a third yet. And he separates them, and they grow a third. His words work, so even though it did not happen yet, he still was able to affect that acquisition. And who was finally was Rabbi Akiva. Excuse me. Rabbi Akiva, who started off this whole story about the Makna Davar Shalab Elam. Titanan, 5 lines into the white lines. If someone says, and this was the Mishnah we quoted at the top of yesterday, at top of the beginning of today's shir, someone makes a neder, that which the woman says, excuse me, that my handiwork, my maisi yodayim, should be koinim to your mouth. He does not have to. The husband does not have to know the vow. Rabbi Kiva Amar Yafer. Why? Because maybe he's going to create more. Now, even though yesterday we said, not yesterday, excuse me, the beginning of today's shir we said this Mishnah is not a riot to Rabbi Akiva, because maybe the case was that he said Maisi Yadayim, but the Gemara is concluding that it indeed is. So a whole laundry list of Amarayim Tanayim that hold Adam Makna Davar Shalai B'Olam. So now, before we finish today's shir, we end off with a new topic. Says the Gemara, we're going to go all the way back, about a week ago. What do we learn? We learned the case of an Eid Echad testifying that a woman's husband is dead overseas. And what happened? She went and she remarried. And then the husband appeared. We said she has to get divorced, etc., etc. The question is, does that one aid allow her as well to do Yibum? And if everyone is wondering, that's the Mishnah we just had, that's going to be the raya of the Gemara. Let's let the Gemara develop itself. So, by Minei Meir Rav Sheshes, they asked the following from Rav Sheshes. Eid Echad B'Yavama Mau? Does an Eid Echad, can an Eid Echad allow one to do Yibum? Now, what's the din? Time of the Eid Echad is the reason we allow an Eid Echad to let one remarry by the husband overseas. Mishum demels David Gluye loy meshaker. One is not going to lie about something that could be revealed, so everyone can find out if this husband's alive. So they'll never lie. V'chanami loy meshaker. So to over here with regard to Yibum, no one's going to lie. No one's going to lie, and therefore we can believe in a singular aid. No, maybe the reason for Eid Echad is why, because she's going to look into it herself. But maybe in the case of Yibam, that she likes the Yavam, she likes her husband's brother, so maybe we have to be concerned that Loi Daikum and Asva. So says the Gemara, fundamental Shayla, but with regard to Yibam, do we believe in Eid Echad? Just one parenthetic point. That really, this bottom Taisus over here points out that the Gemara just said it's sad. That is the reason about Eid Echad, because it's a matter that's going to be revealed, and everyone's wondering, what do you mean? The Gemara proved that was the reason, that the woman herself is going to have to look into it. So why is here a question in the Gemara? Taisus delves into that point. But back into the Gemara continues and says, Amrulu Rav Sheshes Tini Tua, says Rav Sheshes, I'll bring you a raya from our Mishnah. Amrula, they told her, Meis Benech, your son died, Meis Benech, and then your husband died, and she went and did Yibam Amrula, and then they told her, Chidavad Varm was the opposite. What do we see? The din was Teitiv Avlad, Rishon Vachar, and Mamzer. So, Eichi, tell me, what is the case of our Mishnah? Ilemu Trei Utrei, if there were 2 Eidim came the first time, and 2 Eidim are coming in now, My Chazam why do you believe one set of Eidim more than the other? Classical Trey blows each other up, so why do we believe the second more than the first? Void, Mamzer Safik, Mamzeru, it should be a Mamzer Misafik. Mamzer? Was it a real mamzer? Maybe you'll tell me loidak. Maybe you'll tell me that really it's loidak. It really is not really a mamzer. And the Mishnah said mamzer wasn't being precise. It can't be. V'ameliktani say for what at the end of the Mishnah teach us a rishon mamzer achron ain't no mamzer. Shema min adavka katani. We see clearly that we're being specific. Who is the mamzer? So it can't be suffik. Elalav. What must the din in our Mishnah be? Shema min achad. It was one aid. But time also be trevech shua. So one aid came in originally, and that's how she did Yibam. Subsequently, two aidim come in and contradict the singular aid, and that's why she has to get divorced and the kids are mamzer. But if not from the fact that two aidim came in afterwards, ma'amin. So what do we see? We see that there is indeed a believability with regard to one aid, with regard to Yibam, a beautiful raya from our Mishnah. Vigad Yamri says the Gemara will conclude. And now, as in classical Gemara sense, the Gemara is going to take that which you just said, the past 10 lines in which we had a kasha of Rav Sheshes arrive from our Mishnah, the Gemara is going to flip it on its head. Vika Diamri, another lashon with the same results. That wasn't the question of Rav Sheshes. 4 lines to the end of the Amud. Because we know that a woman herself has a believability. Say, if a woman says her own eidos that her husband died, we let her get remarried. We allow her to do yibam. So what was the question of Rav Sheshes? Do we allow a singular aid to give edus to allow the Yevama not to do Yibam, but to go and marry the rest of the world? Either the singular aid gave testimony that the Yavam died, or the singular aid gave testimony that when the husband died, she had a child. But in either case, do we allow a singular aid not to allow her to do Yibam, but to marry the rest of the world? My time at Eid Echad, now it's the same Shakavataria. What's the reason an Eid Echad has believability? The reason is because something to be revealed. The never lie. Oidoma is perhaps the reason. The reason is because she looks into it. She'll never get remarried without looking into it. But in our case, maybe not. You know why? The exact opposite of Svar before. Because as we turn over to Sadi Dalam Aleph, because maybe she hates Desanya, maybe she hates her husband's brother, so she's not going to look into it. So Amr Rav Sheshes the need to. I'll bring a right from our Mishnah. Then they switch it around. Tell me what's the case. It's 2 verses. Why are you relying on this more than this? Question number 1. Va'id, mamzer safek, mamzer who? Va'id, and furthermore, what's the question? The same question. Mamzer? No, it's a mamzer safek. How could he safek mamzer? How could he call it a mamzer? Maybe really it's a safek mamzer. Or does that bring precise? What is the case for our Mishnah? The case for our Mishnah is that there's one aid. But if not, we would believe the singular aid to allow her even to marry elsewhere. Says the Gemara right from our Mishnah that what? She's allowed to marry elsewhere based on a singular aid's testimony. And says the Gemara, no, Raya. It really was 2 verses. 2. Completely different in case, but it's Trey Utrei, and therefore there's no Raya from our Mishnah. So the Gemara concludes that we do not necessarily have a Raya. What is the story with one aid with regard to her marrying elsewhere, not to do Yav Ibam, but to marry elsewhere? We'll pick up from Rav Mordechai the Rav Ashi, Mir Tashem, in the next year.